If you are into retro video games, it can be a challenge adding to your library if you don't have a good quality store around you that carries retro video games, if you don't have swap meets near you, if you don't have people who are looking to unload their old retro video games. And if that's the case, what are you left to do? Well, even if you do have access to all of those, a great option that's out there is Video Games Monthly, and that's what we have in this box here. See, they deliver anywhere from 3 to 10 retro video games right to your doorstep. Going back, most recently from the Xbox One series and the PS4, all the way back to like the NES, the Atari 2600, the ColecoVision, and a whole lot more. What we subscribe to is the 3 games and up package for $34.99 a month, and every once in a while we do get some extra games in here. See, one of the cool things about Video Games Monthly is they do try to go ahead and give you value for what you pay. So while you may subscribe to get 3 games, they may give you 4, 5. I've even seen what they call a 3-up, where you get up to 3 extra games just to make sure that your value in the box matches the value that you're paying. So what we have selected for this month is we wanted to collect for the Sega Master System, for the Nintendo Famicom, and for the original Sony PlayStation. So let's take a look and see what we got in this month's box. So we're back once again in the light box. Just wanted to try the way we did it last month for the sake of trying it the way we did last month. The way that I do this unboxing is it's a blind draw. You see what I see at the same time. So let's see what we see. See? So first things first, we're going to reach our hand in, and normally there's some cards and whatnot in here. So let's take a look what we have. So first and foremost, we have, looks like Mario and Smash Brothers and whatnot. Looks like a sticker. Let's see, Video Games Monthly. Don't forget to update your catalog. That way they know that you have everything up to date with them. You can also win up to 3 free games. Post your box social media for a chance to win 3 free games in your next box. Now, some people get excited by this. I get worried by this. So we got a 2-up, which means that we have 2 extra games in here. Generally speaking, that means the games that are in here are gonna suck. And then finally, we do have, I know this is not Pikachu, but it looks like Pikachu, just a Pokemon sticker. So let us dive into our box. That 2-up really does leave me a little bit worried. So feels like either a Genesis or a Master System game. It's Master System, and this is Shanghai. Well, not off to a good start. Steady your nerves and concentration. You're about to play Shanghai. It's based on an ancient game that's only over 25 centuries old. Over the years since it has been a favorite of pirates and smugglers, flappers and gangsters, of working men and well-to-do. Now you can play too. This is, what do they call this? It's like dominoes. I can't think of the name of it. Let's take a look inside the box. It does have the manual, no poster like what we've seen. This manual is in rough shape. And I would say the cartridge is not in the greatest shape either. We've got, a mark here. This feels sticky. Yeah, we are going to open this up and take a look and see what this looks like. And even the box itself, there's a dark smudge right here. Not a good start. Mahjong, that's what I'm thinking of. It reminds me of a version of Mahjong. So let's see. We've got loose cartridges in here, either more Master System or maybe Famicom. Mighty Bomb Jack. So I have actually never been a fan of this, and this actually looks really rough too. Look at the discoloration. This should be a more vibrant yellow on here. Not a super expensive game, but I know there are people who are fans of it. I'm not one of them. So 0 for 2 so far. Let's see what else we have inside the box. This is Nuts and Milk. Nuts and Milk. Again, not a great game. I don't think this ever came out in the U.S. Does have the original owners or an owner's signature on the back, it looks like here. And again, we're flashing the values up on screen. So there's 3. If we had a 2-up, we should have 2 more. Gyrodine. This is Taito, and I have to admit, I've never heard or played this one, so this may be a hidden gem. We'll again pop the value on screen here. I do love the fact that, I mean, granted, these are not great games. I don't know about Gyrodine, but these are not great games, at least in my opinion. I know there are people who love Mighty Bomb Jack. Each one has a different look, a different style, and that's something we severely missed out with here in the US. And then finally, we have a Hudson Soft game. Now, let's give you a closer look here, because I'm going to tell you how you can tell what the name of this is. So it says, and you may not even be able to make this out here, it says Raid on Bungling Bay. If it didn't have that on there, this HFCRB, type that into Google and it will pull up a database where you can cross-reference that. And each one of the Famicom cartridges has that cross-reference out there. Now this, the Gyrodine is missing it. I don't see it on here. Mighty Bomb Jack, oh, real prominent. TCFMB. And then Nuts to Milk, you can see it right there. HFC NM. So now what I'm going to do is we're just going to see how clean or dirty these are, because these do not look great. So it's time to break out the one-up cleaning cards. So we're going to start here with Raid on Bungling Bay, because this is a pretty inexpensive game that if I damaged it, I wasn't going to care. So I have never successfully opened a Famicom cartridge before, and I still haven't technically because I broke off the tab here. But let's take a look at these pins, and as you saw, essentially you can just use a clamp to squeeze it together to access the cartridge. But look at how disgustingly filthy that cartridge is. I don't even know that this would play. I am really, really bummed out about this. I mean, granted, it's not like I was... One of the reasons why I opened this one up was because if it got damaged, I didn't care. Now, one thing too, I did see a video recently where it showed this, and someone asked, was it a legit cartridge or was it a repro? So these are called glob tops, where essentially the ROM chips and RAM chips are underneath a glob of goo. This is 100% legit. Wow. So, all right. There's a couple ways that we could go ahead and clean this. First and foremost, I highly recommend these guys here. These are one-up cleaning cards. And what's nice is, compared to like a cotton swab, is these are lint-free. They don't leave any fibers behind as you clean. Whereas a Q-tip or a cotton swab can leave gunk behind. Now, normally with something like this, I would use one-up cleaning solution. This is literally just isopropyl alcohol. For something like this, as disgustingly gross as this is, I'm not even going to waste my time, because, well, I am going to waste my time just to show you. So all I'm going to do, and for this I am going to just use a cotton swab. So I'm just going to put some IPA on here. And watch how much crap just comes off. So you can already see the blackness coming off on the Q-tip. But you can still see how much gunk and junk are on those pins. So we're not going to waste our time anymore on this cartridge with that. What we're going to do is we're going to break out a cleaning solvent I use. I'm mixing it up here. And this is called Bright Boy. This is a non-abrasive metal polish that's designed to break down at a chemical level the gunk and goo that gets on metals. Now, this is designed for brass, but you can also use it on stainless steel and other things. So the alloy that the pins are made out of, perfect candidate for this. Now, these are so filthy, I'm not even going to go to clean. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply it like you see here. And now I'm just going to take another cotton swab and I'm just going to spread it out. You can already see, just like that, the gunk that's coming off of here. So we are going to leave this sitting in the background as we check out. God, this is filthy. Check out the other games. And I know that I bust on Video Games Monthly from time to time about the cleanliness of their games. It's so difficult to actually get inside and open up a Famicom cartridge that, you know, I don't entirely blame them on these, but man, these are disgusting, or at least that one was. We'll see if we can successfully open this one and not break the tab. I know Voltar is the one that I first saw do this, or pop that side. Okay, we got that side. We got that side. Okay, this is the first time I've actually successfully opened a Famicom cartridge without breaking off the damn tabs. Now with this, I can actually just pull the board out. So here, this is not a glob top, but again, you can see this is another one. We're not even going to bother to use the standard, cleaning solution and whatnot. We're not going to use IPA. We're going to go straight to Bright Boy on something like this. And again, with this, we're just going to apply it to the pins. Interesting that these pins, I don't know that I've ever seen a game that has silver this. Now, one thing just as a heads up with Bright Boy, if you do end up picking something like this up, and I will have a link down below in a pinned comment to all the supplies that I'm using, yeesh, is you do want to use it in a well-ventilated area. This has a very strong ammonia odor to it. I do not recommend any. Look at that. Wow. Do not recommend inhaling any of this unless you really want to make yourself sick and nauseous. Let's see if we can go 2 for 3 and open Mighty Bomb Jack. I am not expecting a lot out of this cartridge just because of how filthy the outside of it is. Like I say, this should be a pretty bright yellow cartridge, and it is decidedly not. There we go. Got another one popped. So this doesn't look as bad as the other two. The one thing of note, I'm just going to bring in a screwdriver here, is the fact that the pin doesn't go all the way down. It's got that notch out, so it kind of, gives you the look that initially might have extra dirt, but it's just the fact that the pin just didn't go all the way down. It does it front and back, which is really bizarre. I'm still going to go ahead and Bright Boy this one. Now, one thing of note is that in the 70s and 80s, smoking was really prevalent in Japan, and as such, a lot of the video games have tobacco smut on systems, on cartridges, on shells. So that's kind of what we're doing, is we're removing generations of that garbage. Yeah, this one I don't think we're going to get to pop, which is unfortunate, but looking at the condition of the other ones, we're going to just Bright Boy right away anyways. So with this, I'll boy right on the cotton swab. And no, I'm not going to make the Roger Rabbit reference this month. To lay off the cotton, you swab. These cartridges aren't dirty. They're just drawn that way. Kind of hard to focus here, but if you notice, the cotton swab has a bit of a bluish tint to it. That tells me that there was severe oxidation on this at one point in time. So I'm glad we're taking care of these. So while I let these 4 Famicom cartridges soak, let's go ahead and take a look at the Master System cartridge. Now, the Master System cartridge, a lot easier to get into because Sega provided us with Phillips head screws. That's so much nicer on these, and thankfully later on Nintendo did discover the folly of their ways and put, first it was a combination of a security bit, Allen head, flat blade, screwdriver bit on early cartridges, and then later ones you do have the security bits on. Now the outside of this shell feels pretty scummy, so we'll go ahead and we'll clean that up too. These pins, these are not great compared to what we had gotten last month. And if you haven't seen that video, check it out. I'll have a link for in the upper right-hand corner. We're going to Bright Boy this one too. But those, all 3 of these, or all 4 of these this month, really kind of hurting in the cleanliness department. So yeah, we're just going to use a cotton swab to spread that. You can see some of the crud off there already. As you can see, I'm not using a ton. You don't need to douse the pins on this. Now, one thing I have seen recently, and I do want to kind of address, is I've seen someone in the community use Magic Eraser on pins for NES cartridges and for pins inside of an NES itself. That's an uber abrasive. It's basically a form of sandpaper. Do not recommend, at least for initial cleanliness. Try the isopropyl alcohol at first. If the pins do look like these, then perhaps go to something more abrasive. But yeah, no. Don't use a sandpaper on your pins. So now these have been sitting since, probably 5 to 8 minutes now. Let's see what we can pull off. Look at that. Wow. Now the pins definitely have more of a silver shine to it. you are removing a little bit of material from the top of the pins. Holy crap. And our good friend John Riggs has an amazing kind of parallel with this. This is resurfacing a disc where you can only do it so many times before the disc will no longer be able to be read, but like, I don't want this crap in my system. That's terrible. And I'm going to take my 1-Up cleaning card, and this is actually a used one, but you can use them over and over again. Just apply some of the cleaning fluid here. And what we're doing at this point is not only cleaning the pins of any other dirt on here, we're removing any other additional bright boy that might be left over, because you don't want that getting into your system. That's definitely a, it will not damage the pins over time, but it'll definitely gunk them up. And there's a reason why I recommend using Bright Boy over Brasso, is the fact that it does clean off better and doesn't leave as much of a residue behind as like a Brasso will. It's not an abrasive. Brasso is an abrasive. It says so right on the bottle. Bright Boy is not an abrasive. So what you're doing is you're actually causing less permanent damage to the pins itself. So, all right, I'm pretty happy with that. We are going to go ahead and put the PCB back in the case here, and I believe it'll only go in one way. We will double check real quick. Yes, it will only go one way, so that's good to know. Like I say, it's the first time I've actually been inside of a Famicom cartridge. And we're going to snap it back together, hopefully, successfully. Fingers crossed. We don't cause further damage. There we go. So there is Raid on Bungling Bay clean. Let's check out Mighty Bomb Jack, since that was the next one that we had done. And we're going to do the same thing here as we did with the previous game. We're just going to rub off what we had applied as far as Bright Boy goes. Let's see how bad it was now in 3, 2, 1. Not as bad, but not good. Still not good. As dirty as these were, I would question if it would have actually worked. Now, I know a lot of people may say don't use any solvent whatsoever, and I understand that. I am doing this simply to prevent this from getting into my system first and foremost, and for demonstration purposes here for the sake of this video. Don't break out the super harsh chemicals first. Go to the 1-Up cleaning cards, go to isopropyl alcohol, go to the cotton swabs first. But ever had a game that wasn't working before? It has never not worked more because I used Bright Boy on it. Okay, now those don't look as bad. And again, we've still got enough IPA on here, so I can just scrub that side clean, flip it over, and we'll get this side. Now, after I'm done doing each side with this, the one thing I want to make sure that I don't do is touch the pins again. So that's why you kind of see me holding it up towards where the ROM and RAM chips are on here and everything. And they do poke you in the fingers, and that does not always feel the best. So I'll be careful that I'm not causing damage to the plastic shell, and try to keep my hands off of the pins as much as possible. There we go. We are back in. And we can give it a good squeeze. And we should pop it in. Here we go. And I don't want to use the clamp here because I don't want to damage the plastics. There we go. Mighty Bomb Jack is now cleaned. So yeah, just squeeze it right like that was everything I needed to do. Nuts and milk, you say, nuts and milk. This is not a good game. Look at how much that pulled off. And there's still marks on the pins. Wow. Yeesh. Now, granted, I use a 60 to 72 pin adapter. I play through my HDMI modded NES for my Famicom games. So I'm not actually getting that crap in my system, but it would be getting into my adapter that I have. Wow, that's terrible. That's terrible. Now I am going to, this time, put more IPA on the fluid side as we scrub it up on this one. Front side, got the back side. And again, not only are we cleaning the pins further, we're removing any leftover Bright Boy. We don't want that left on the cartridge, on the pins, to follow up our system, or in this case, our adapter. Same thing here, we're going to put pins, or the chip side down. This one seems like a little bit easier to get into. Oh, wow. Was not wanting to go in there. Oh, this one opened up altogether. This one actually looks like, yep, I had it upside down, so, oof. Holy, do you see this? Ew. Look at that fuzz I just pulled out. That's so disgusting. Reminds me of Fizzgig. Nuts and milk is back together. Now, I could not get Gyrodine apart, but let's take a look and see how the pins are now. If you can't get the cartridge apart, take 2 cotton swabs, top and bottom, twist, and that applies pressure against each other. Speeds things up a little bit for you. How bad are these going to be? You know, not the worst out of the bunch. Actually, I would say these are probably the best out of the bunch. Could have possibly gotten away with not the Bright Boy, but based on the other 3, I didn't want to risk it. Yeah, this is actually not too terrible. So let's do this too. One of the cool things with the 1-Up cards is they do have the minis, and these are great for like Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Colors, but they also fit great in Famicom and N64 cartridges too. So you can use the standard size ones in here. I'll show you that in a second. I just feel like this, I get a little bit more motion. So standard size one, push on in. There you go. Here's our final one, Shanghai for the Master System. Same type of thing. We're just cleaning off what we applied. Yeah, it pulled off a decent amount. I mean, it wasn't, again, as bad as, like, those Famicom cartridges were gross. Yeah, definitely cleaner than the others. This is probably the cleanest out of all of them. But still, it has some serious gunk buildup on here, so I'm glad that I'm doing this. Same thing here. We're just going to bring our fluid and dry side in. There's fluid and the dry. Then we're hitting that with the wet side one more time. There's our dry side. And now we're ready to seal this back up. Now, if you've never seen me put together a Master System cartridge or anything that threads into plastic, I'm going to give you a great tip here in just a sec. So anytime you thread into a plastic like this, what you want to do, take your screw, you get the point set, unscrew it about half to a full turn before you start screwing in. What that does is it sets the threads of the screw in the plastic and make sure that you're not cutting new threads and that you're utilizing the threads that are already pre-cut from the first time everything was put together. So that side worked great. You'll hear and feel like a thunk when the screw gets into the threads as it should. Now, on this cartridge here too, this is pretty gross and nasty as well on the outside of it. So I'm just going to take a couple cotton swabs and we're just going to apply this right to the outside. Now, I'm going to be careful. Like, you don't want to use acetone or anything like that on plastic. Look at that. Perfect example, like I said, smokers. You don't want to use acetone or anything really coxy, is that the right term? Basically anything that's going to attack composites that are on your game cases themselves. I don't know why I'm cleaning this all that much, because all 4 of these games, actually 5, these are all trade bait. I mean, these, I kind of know the value is what it is, but at the same time, the value for me on all of these is non-existent. I mean, it's kind of a bummer, but that's the nature of a blind box. Sometimes stuff that, you know, you absolutely love and has no financial value, and other times you may get stuff that you love that does have financial value, and then stuff that you don't like and has no financial value. And that's where this box kind of lines up, is the last one there, where not a whole lot of financial value and not a whole lot of intrinsic value to me either. So where are we at for a total here? So I popped these up on screen as you were looking at them. This is my first time actually going through and looking at the values. So Shanghai is a $10 game in this condition. Mighty Bomb Jack, this is $8 loose. Gyrodine, playing behind us, is $9 loose. Nuts and Milk was actually the big winner in this. This is $15. And Raid on Bungling Bay, this is $6 for a total value of $48. So this is one of those where, like, financial value is there in these games. The game value isn't there for me. This is one of those, like, Gyrodine looks like a halfway decent shmup, but beyond that, I will never play any of these, and this whole box, 2 months in a row for me, is trade bait. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to do another box in April, and that's nothing against Video Games Monthly. I've got conventions coming up that I'm going to be going to, so I may save my money and get what I actually want to see in person versus doing a blind box. And that is one of the really nice things about Video Games Monthly. You can cancel at any time, you can restart anytime. I normally cancel and restart 2 to 3 times a year. You can see the playlist on the channel with all the different unboxings that we've done on here. Famicom games are always tough to go ahead and get clean. I don't know if they clean these or not. These were filthy, and it's one of those, it was disappointing to see, but through these tips that I've given you, if you have games that you see that are like this, you can go ahead, duplicate my methods, and go ahead and make sure that your cartridges are clean, that they work each and every time, and that you are not following up your system. Now, like I mentioned, we have done a ton of unboxings with Video Games Monthly. You can go ahead and check them up in the box that you see on screen now. It also has other tips and tricks on there for how you can keep your games and your systems clean today, tomorrow, and into the future.